this is Amanda the Nerdy Crafter, and I'm here today to do a quick voiceover of this amazing project that I worked on. This is our Make It Simple Monday with the Art Impressions Way Facebook group. And every Monday, in the month of March, we are bringing a little card together for bunnies is our theme for this month. So I had the hardest time trying to figure out which bunnies to use, but I have come up with 3 so far. This is the 4th, and then we have one more week after this. So I'm showing you a few of the other projects that I did over the past few weeks. And this set here is so stinking cute. It's the Watercolor Planter set. It's one that came out in 2022, and there's this cute little bunny that's in this set that I absolutely love. And unfortunately, again, as with many of these, this is the first time that I've pulled out this set. So I'm loving this challenge that it's, challenging me to pull out sets that I haven't used before and really dig into my collection and use what I have. Also, I'm using a small ATC size paper. So it's a very small vignette here. I was able to make some cards after I finished the recording of this. So I will do another video with flip throughs of the cards that I made. Now, since this is a photopolymer set, I do generally pull in my stamp positioner when I'm inking them up. Sometimes they just need a little bit extra. And so I'm going to use my 969 here. Make sure that you're going on the side of the marker, not on the tip of it. You don't want to break down that tip of your marker. And I think the 969 and the 565 are the only 2 pens that I've had to ever replace in my collection. And I've been watercoloring or using these pens since 2018. So it's been a hot minute. So I'm doing a 2-color process here. So I'm starting with the 969. I'm doing a stamp off on the back of my paper. Then the next color I'm going to bring in is the 565, again, going over it. Now, with the photopolymer, I do a very light second stamp off. I just want to get any blobs of color that may have collected when I was going over it to come off. But I don't do as heavy of a secondary stamp off as I do with the red rubber. That seems to hold the ink a little bit better. So I do a heavier stamp off with the red rubber. So just a light tap, you can see there. And then we're going to flip it over. And we're going to do it on the smooth side of, this is Canson XL watercolor paper. I'm bringing in my stamp press, and this is simply so that I get an even pressure all over my stamp. I'm not pressing really hard. I'm not doing CPR with this. It's just a smooth, even glide over the stamp, so that way I get a nice image with it. If you press too hard with those stamp positioners or the palm of your hand, what you'll find is the lines will bleed out and you'll lose those nice crisp lines there. So just be cautious when you're using those stamp positioners and using a stamp press that you're really not applying a heavy hand of pressure, just a smooth, even pressure with it. All right, so here we go. Let's bring in our watercolor brush, and we want to make sure that it's activated, make sure we get all the air bubbles out of it. And then I'm going to bring in I'm going to pull out the color from the lines. So I've added some water to my brush. I'm pinching it off, and I'm going in, and because of this 2-color process that we're using, the 969 and the 565, it gives you a grayscale look to your project. So the very first color that I do is I pull out the gray from the lines, and that kind of helps me define where my shadows are. I'm going to go into the areas where things are going to be a little bit darker, so underneath the pot here. And you can see that I'm kind of flicking in the texture here. I find that if I go in a straight line, I have a harder time getting that line to blend, but if I kind of give it an even kind of flick to it, the lines blend so much easier and so much faster when I bring in my other colors. So we're just coming in here. Remember, the pot is rounded, so to get a rounded image, you're going to go dark on either side of the pot, with the center being your highlight. So imagine if you had like a metal cup and the light was shining down from above you. You'll find that you'll see a highlight or a light mark right in the middle of your cup, and either of the sides are going to be a little bit darker. So that helps round the image, makes it pop off the paper. So then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to scribble some of my ink on. So this is the 565. And then I'm bringing in the 969. So this is 2 lines of the 565 and half a line of the 969 will make that gray that was on the stamp. I want to bring in a little bit darker gray to the bunny. I'm going to leave my bunny white with just some gray. because in nature, really nothing is absolutely white. So here I'm actually, oh, I decided to do the pot first. So we're gonna do, what I'm gonna doing is, it's a grayscale underlay. So what I like to do sometimes, it adds another texture to your color. So if you only have a few colors you're working with, which I work with a very small palette, because I teach with these colors, and these are the basic colors that Art Impressions recommends that you get in your basic set. But you want to add some dimension and texture to it. By adding a gray undertone to it and then putting a color on top of it, it gives you more dimension, more texture, and gives you another color variety in your scale of colors. I actually learned this from some of my Copic classes, that they put a gray underlay and then put the colors over, and it's amazing how much dimension that you get out of your images when you do that. A lot of the techniques that I actually do are from Copic alcohol marker classes. So I had a really hard time, other than Art Impressions and Bonnie and Kendra at the time, Kim more recently, when I was learning to watercolor. There weren't a lot of watercolor teachers out there that watercolored with stamps. A lot of them did freehand, but they really didn't do stamping images like this in watercoloring. So I ended up taking a number of Copic classes. I had the opportunity to take a couple classes with Jen Dove, who's absolutely an amazing alcohol marker teacher. And so these are some of the techniques that I've learned there. So I transitioned those techniques from the Copic classes and brought them into my watercoloring. So it does make what I teach a little bit different, and my style just a hair different. I'm going to bring in some pink here to the bunny's ears and his cheeks. And I'm very light with that pink. It is a very bold pink, so I'm just doing very, very light. And you see, my brush had water on it, and I'm tapping it off a number of times. I like to go in lighter because you can always accentuate and bring it in darker later. I actually did attend, I think, 1 or 2 alcohol marker classes where I crosswalked my Tombow markers with the alcohol inks, and I was able to do the entire class with my Tombow markers. Sorry, grabbing a little drink here so I don't cough at you. So it can be done. So now I'm bringing in my teal color, which is one of my absolute favorite teals. And this color is actually in my expanded class. So I have a basic class and then an expanded class. So this is kind of in those extra colors that I use. I've got some teals in there, an additional purple, some extra blues, some yellows, and some oranges that I teach with. And so my beginner class, I keep it very simple. There's about 12 markers in there, and then I have an expanded with an additional 5 or 6. I think total, I generally work with about 20 markers. So here I'm talking about like putting a band across that pot. So I can either do it directly from the pen. So right here I'm saying, okay, so if you do a straight line across, it flattens that pot out. It makes it look flat. But if you do like a horseshoe or like a rainbow type, you're going in the curvature of that pot. It gives it that dimension and makes it look rounded. So you can do it with the pen or you can do it with the brush. So I'm just going to come in here with the brush and just paint in that line. And I think I brought the pen in afterwards. I'm like, I actually wanted it a little bit darker. Oh, I changed the color. Even better. So I went with the purple in my basic collection. And I just decided to change it from the teal to the purple. Oh, I like that. That does look good. So I watercolored this the other day, and so I'm doing the voiceover the night before, so Sunday night. And I've got to have this posted for first thing tomorrow morning, Monday. So nothing like last minute. So here I'm doing little hearts. And what you do is tap one way and tap the other. It's kind of like a little V with your brush tip. And it makes a little heart, which is so cute. Bonnie does this in a few of her videos, and I absolutely love it. It's just a quick way to add a little bit more dimension to that pot. So just some little hearts. Just tap it into a V with that brush. And now I'm going to bring in some of my foliage. So I'm going to be using the Bible Journaling flower and foliage set. I love these sets because I add such dimension and variety. They give you kind of a plethora of different sets in one. So I'm going to bring in my little flowers first. And, oh, grass. Sorry. I'm doing the grass first. So I'm just bringing in the grass. So, because we don't want our bunny floating out into outer space. So just a couple little things of grass down there. And then, ooh, I love this set. This is one of my favorites. I've used this one a couple times recently. So it is one of my faves. I can't remember why I brought this one out. I watercolored this just the other day. Oh, I was looking for the different little Easter eggs. Because I was trying to decide if I wanted to add flowers to this pot or if I wanted to add Easter eggs to the pot. And initially I was going to add flowers, but those little Easter eggs in this set in there absolutely perfectly. Like, it was almost like those two sets were meant to go together, because the curvature of the backside of the bunny, where you would normally put flowers and foliage in there, um, fit perfectly with those little Easter eggs. I couldn't have asked for more. And so I was super excited about that. I'm like, do I want to do flowers? I've done a lot of flowers in my sets, and I'm like, let's do something different. I think last week I did the tree stump with the bunny and had some flowers around it. So this time we are going to bring in these little eggs. Now, they do go over the top of the pot, so I kind of want them to sit in the pot. So what I'm going to do is bring in some of my Post-it note masking tape. I'm going to mask off that pot, so when I do stamp them, they go behind and not over. And then I'm going to bring in my markers again, and we're going to do the same two-step process. So the 969 and the 565. Flipping it over. And this gives a good dry run of where those are going to sit also. So you can see it went over just a little bit there. But that is why I put that masking tape. And then I'm bringing in my 565. A light tap off of that. And I think I pointed out, like, right behind the bunny's neck there, where it really just went perfectly into the curvature of that. I don't think Bonnie did those two sets together. I think they came out in different times, but it's amazing how well they work together. So I love finding new uses for all of our sets. So very light there, gorgeous. And I'm going to put that away because I have a tendency to lose stamps. Actually, my mom lost a stamp once, and we looked everywhere for it. And she had ice trays in her freezer, and I went to get ice out one day, and she had the ice trays that have a lid on it, and I opened up the lid, and stuck to the top of the lid was the rubber stamp we were missing. And I swear she tore the entire house apart looking for it. So I do try to be very diligent about putting my stamps away right away, or else I could find them in my freezer someday. Although I do have an ice maker, so I'm hoping I never find it in my freezer. Here, I'm just going in and pulling out a little bit of that color. Again, this is the grayscale with that two ink process. So I'm just tapping out those colors, going where the eggs meet and off on the edges of them, because they are round again. So similar to the pot, I'm going to try to darken up around the outside edges, and then kind of in those little crevices where the eggs meet. And I'm bringing in my pink here. And I'm going to choose a 3-color process. So a pink, the teal, and purple. And a little bit of ink goes a long, long way. Like a little dab of ink would work completely perfectly for all of these eggs. And I think I'm able to do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I brought 4 colors in. So 2 of each of these colors. So this is the light pink purple that is also in the expanded set. So the pink and the first purple are in my basic set, and then the other 2 are in my expanded set. So I'm able to do 2 eggs of each color here. So you see me counting there. For those of you that don't know, my YouTube name is Nerdy Krafter. And the reason why I say nerdy, I was an accountant and auditor for about 20 years of my career. In the last 10 years, I have been in data analytics and IT support. And oh my goodness, like, I absolutely, give me an Excel spreadsheet any day of the week, but I love numbers. My face lights up when I get an Excel spreadsheet. People think I'm such a geek. So thus, Nerdy Krafter. So coming in, putting a little bit of the color, and then pulling it out with some water. I do want to leave a little bit of, I'm going to decorate these with designs and stuff, so they don't have to be, with the light white area, but I do want to have some of that dimension and texture of color. because we're only using one color here, I rely heavily on the water pulling it out and bringing different gradations of shades of those colors in. So one, the gray that I pulled out of the line. Two, when I darken up one section and then pull out, that gives me 2 or 3 different color processes. In some of these inks, specifically that 565, that blue, is a multidimensional multidimensional. See if I can pronounce that. And that one has, as soon as I add water to it, it also brings a purple undertone to it. The 969 is a brown, but it has a little bit of an olive brown as an undertone to it. So some of these inks kind of have more than one color to it, and they change a little when you add water to it. So that I absolutely love. So now I've done 2 of each of these eggs. You can see there's some darker areas and some lighter areas to them. And now I'm going to bring in my twin tones. I just recently purchased, I think it's a 10-pack of twin tones, and I am absolutely loving it. One end is the same as the back end of the Tombow markers, that bullet nib side, but the other side is a very fine micro liner. And that's very similar to what the Marvy, we used to use Marvy markers with art impressions, had that fine liner on the back. And we use that a lot. So not having that on the Tombows was kind of sad, but they have these twin tones that, do the exact same thing. So I'm coming in, I'm going to put some dots, I'm going to put some stripes, maybe some zigzags. I'm just having fun. And I'm just going to add some dimension and texture to these Easter eggs. Imagine, decorating them at the kitchen table with the family. I love those new, it came out on Shark Tank. It's this little device where you put your Easter egg in and then you can take markers and the egg rotates automatically. Oh my gosh, it was the cutest thing ever. And when I saw it on Shark Tank, I was like, oh my gosh, that is going to be so popular. And I think this year they branded with Peeps. So there's like a Peep Easter bunny, and that's kind of the main character of what this Easter egg rolls around with these markers. I don't know. I have not purchased one, although they're super cute and I see commercials for them and I'm like, oh, I think I should get one of those someday. Not that I have any littles to decorate Easter eggs with, but us crafters, we need all the. So I'm actually recording this voiceover on Sunday, and I'm in Arizona, and in Mesa, Arizona this weekend, there was a rubber stamp show, and it's so sad that it's gotten so small over the years, but I did go out today to support some of those companies that I love, that are near and dear to my heart. So, remember these mom and pop companies that this is their livelihood. This craft industry, if we don't continue to support it, will go away. And this company, particularly Art Impressions, is a family-owned business, and I absolutely love this family to death. The Krebs are such great people. So giving them support and love, and I've had the opportunity to meet them a number of times. I've gone out to their sales that they have, and I get to go this summer to their Bible journaling class. I'm so excited because it's been a few years since I got to see them in person, and I'm just tickled pink that I get to go out there and watercolor with Bonnie and Kim for a couple days. But I'm just going through, and I want to ground my bunny so he's not floating out in outer space. Now, there is a cobblestone stamp that they have. Unfortunately, my stamps are in another room from where I'm crafting right now. So to move everything to go get them while I was recording was kind of a pain. So you know what? I'm just going to build my own little cobblestones here. So I'm just penciling in with my brush, going in with that gray tone, the 969 and the 565 combo. And I'm just making little cobblestones for this little bunny to be standing on. I don't know why. It's just something that kind of spoke to me. And it's like, I think that's what it needs today. And that's the fun part about this. It's quick, simple, and easy. This is a 22-minute video, 23-minute. So from me just doing my intro and talking to figuring out my stamps, pulling them out, stamping and watercoloring, maybe a total of 15 to 20 minutes to complete this little vignette here. Is if I distress the edges, back it with a couple pieces of paper, and put it on a card with a sentiment, it's absolutely perfect. So you don't have to spend hours watercoloring. You don't have to spend hours on your projects. These can be quick, simple, easy. I was talking to my mom today, and she is very big into lots of embellishments, multiple layers and stuff. And we were talking about a stamp set that I did years ago for a design team I was on. And I said, "Oh, I did this cute set." And she says, "Oh, yeah. And remember, I took it and I did all this extra with it." And I'm like, "And yours looks so much better." And she goes, "No, it was just different." I'm like, "That's right. I have to remind myself that sometimes you need somebody to do it quick, fast, and simple to be your inspiration to take it to that next level." So I am all good with being that level of inspiration for whoever needs that little extra. So here I am doing the sky. So I do a wet on wet technique for the sky. I find that the colors just move so much easier for me personally. So I went and laid down the 520. Oh, I can't remember what that light blue is. It'll be in my my blog if you go look there. My colors are all there. And then the 565, I do bring in that darker color. I know the 969, the 565, like the back of my hand. I think it's a 524 for the light blue, but goodness, if I would remember right now. It has been a long day. So I do that 2-color process, and I do put that darker 565 at the bottom, because if you think about it, the sun's above, the top of your clouds are going to be lighter, the bottom of your clouds are going to be darker. That's just my personal opinion. I got that in my brain some time ago, and I just kind of roll with it. I'm coming in with my darker twin tone now. I don't know if this is the brown or the black, and I'm just darkening in the bunny's eyes, giving him some little whiskers. And then I do like to go in and kind of sketch in some of the lines that might have been washed out from the watercolor. Maybe give the little paws some little added. And then I like to put some little speckles in there. So in the darker areas underneath the bunny's arms, the backside of the bunny, I just like to put a little texture in there with that. Sometimes I'll bring in the Kendra's dots from it's a Bible Journaling Foliage Set 2. I forgot the little strap here, so I'm going in and putting the purple in for the strap. But I do like those little speckles, so I use those quite frequently. And then, as always, Bonnie says, don't forget to sign your work. So I always use my initials and put the year. When I first started, I do recommend when you're first starting to put the month in the year. And the reason why I say that is because I did a project. I started really digging into my watercoloring big time in 2020, like all of us, that needed something to do. And I remember watering something in early 2020 and then late 2020 and seeing them side by side, and how much my watercoloring had changed over the years was absolutely amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will catch you later. Take care.